Okay, everybody, welcome back to Jinka Jabo, and today we're going to talk a little bit about Trump, of course, but we're also going to talk about the new sex scandals in Washington, and in particular Al Franken. And it's kind of hard to see what's going down with Al Franken and what's happening in the Democratic Party, but I don't know how to finish that sentence. Welcome to Jinka Jabo. Now, Trump came under fire recently on his way back from Asia when he gave his first conference after being on a plane for I don't know how long, 13 or 14 hours. It's a long flight, I know that. But he paused to take a long drink of water, and the media was very upset at him. Or they were saying, okay, well, it looks just like Rubio, or this is the same president who made fun of Marco Rubio for taking a sip of water and that very creepy, still looking at the camera kind of motion. And he even kind of made fun of himself for it, I think, or he was saying on Twitter that, oh, the president needs to know how to take a proper drink of water, which is absolutely ridiculous. But I'm used to hearing ridiculous stories about Trump as much as I'm used to hearing him say ridiculous, stupid things. Anyway, he took a drink of water, and it was quite different because everyone was studying and analyzing it, and he took time out to quench his thirst. There was a great meme going around comparing Rubio's drink of water to President Trump's drink of water. And now Trump takes the big boy, expensive Fiji bottle, and he stops everything that he's doing to quench his thirst in the moment. As opposed to Rubio, who keeps making creepy eye contact and tries to make it as discreet as possible, and he's got this little bottle. It's the most interesting story this week. Not true. Was there another shooting? Possibly, but I think there was. But anyway, the other news, the really stunning news, we got a picture of it and everything, is our buddy Al Franken in Minnesota. Yeah, I grew up kind of near the Twin Cities, and so I actually did meet him once. It was before he went into politics. This must have been like in 02 or 03 or something. But he was coming out for Wellstone. I guess he was a big fan of Wellstone. I guess he was a Minnesota native, and I know he referenced that in some of his comedy. I went to go see it with my roommate at the time because we were both fans of 90s SNL, and it was just a chance to see an SNL star. And I got a chance to see him backstage, and I didn't really talk to him much. I was kind of starstruck. I don't know, my little 19-year-old self. And I had long hair, too. Perhaps he thought I was a girl, but he didn't touch me or anything. I remember back in those times, and I even referenced this, I think, when I was talking about Milo's book, that I read Rush Limbaugh is a Big Fat Idiot and Lies and the Lying Liars That Tell Them. And those books, I remember, were very funny. And I also remember that they did have a lot of sexual innuendo. And that he made a lot of sexual innuendo and stuff that we wouldn't find appropriate these days. His whole Stuart Smalley kind of 90s Liberace character, this new ager, good enough, smart enough, and doggone it, people like me, he wouldn't be appropriate today. Or I don't know if it would be seen as making fun of gays. Like, what's her name? She became that big atheist. She had a character, it's Pat, who was transgender or something, transvestite, or it's territory that we can't even get to anymore. I'm getting way off topic though, but like, we all saw that picture of now Senator Al Franken reaching for the woman's chest, and it looks like it might be touching, but even if it's not, it's still a very rude thing to do. And her story really backs that up. And then there's the photo that came out. Yeah, she's got her arms around his neck, but it seems like their faces are so smashed together that she's kind of resisting turning away. And corroborates with her story that she had about the rehearsal and how he jammed his tongue down her throat. Just disgusting. And the worst thing about it, I forget who said this on YouTube. There have been so many videos about it now, but is just that smug look on his face, like, oh, he knows he'll get away with it. Like, he cares so little about this woman that he's fine with having that picture taken. And it's also kind of the comedian mentality. This is his pre-politics mentality. I guess all comedians on TV now are politicians anyway. But I guess it was sort of him being a little, a little controversial. And it's kind of outdated humor in the same way that Stuart Smalley would be outdated today if they were to put it on TV. And more than just the smug look in his face, like, he knows the picture's being taken. He's smiling for it, and it's getting sent to this woman. In the CD they made of all the photos from the trip, he knows all this stuff, and he's smiling anyway. But then he gets on Twitter and his kind of fake apology that we're used to hearing from all these people. And he says, well, yeah, it was obviously meant to be a joke. Yeah, some joke. Very hilarious for you, my friend. And I'm afraid it looks like the Al Franken millennium has finally come to an end after 17 years, where you barely took the Senate, and you were one of just many hack celebrities that have gone straight to the top, including Trump himself. Wellstone. What would Wellstone do? That's what they all talked about. The liberal politics. It was sort of like, for us college kids, for us leftist hip kids, we would go to Minnesota, you know. That's where we would go to really program ourselves with progressive politics. And it's where we would go to see great concerts. I remember, like, that's where I would go to see all my favorite pop and jazz concerts. And that was just the place, you know. It was just liberal. It was just halal food. Like, we'd go to Dinkytown and the Somali areas, and we just felt so progressive, so cool. And it was great having an SNL liberal celebrity up there. I never lived in the cities. I did live in Winona for a bit, but I guess I never voted in Minnesota or anything. But it was more of a culture thing. It's like Minnesota always stays blue. It still voted for Hillary. This coffee really isn't that good. I've been drinking Vietnamese-style coffee again for some reason. I don't know. It's cheaper and it's everywhere, and it still gives you the buzz. But even when you order it black, they put just a trace amount of cream in it or something. Drives me crazy. It kind of reminds me, it was much worse in Saudi Arabia, but I would go to the coffee shop before work at my university, and I would order a black coffee, and they'd always say to me, black coffee with cream? I'm like, why do I want cream with black coffee? It's black coffee, you don't put cream in it. They didn't get it, Vietnam doesn't get it either. Yeah, so anyway, Al Frankenstein, or Frankenstein, I guess Frankenstein is what Trump called him, is in a lot of trouble. And that picture, I've already seen it copied and put out on memes. They put it on Hillary Clinton. I've seen it on others now, of him smiling and just the most juvenile look on his face. It would look juvenile and stupid and haunting and maybe even hurt someone's career if that picture was taken at a drunken frat party, and instead of Al Franken being an old senator, he was a young college kid in Fort Lauderdale, and this girl he's mad at is passed out drunk and he's pretending to touch her. Like, that would still be stupid. That would still be harassment, and that would still be wrong, and that would still hurt someone's career later on. But here we have an adult politician who had a successful career and everything, who was a celebrity, just doing it like he doesn't really care. Just despicable. But it's true for all of them, and then the left is coming out and saying, well, these sexual allegations, it's like they're gaslighting. I heard someone say, like, oh, it's just they're gaslighting, they're trying to throw off attention from other things, when what I think is, well, when you have abuse victims in this precarious situation of trying to report and having it hurt their career, we know how tied up the nepotism and connections in Hollywood and in Washington are, and how much it can threaten your career to speak up against this sort of thing. Beginning with Harvey Weinstein and crossing over into all these other politicians now, it's become more and more acceptable, and now is the time to do it and come forward. And so the accuser chose the right time. And I don't think this is gaslighting. I think all of this is quite newsworthy. Because in the end, these are the people who have been pontificating to us all this time. These are the ones telling us about sexual morality. These are the ones fighting for different changes, social changes, both in the media and in the schools. And lesser so in Washington now, with changes that have been made. But this whole thing has just been completely sickening, and it gives all of its cause to stop and consider, well, I mean, to what extent should these public officials be held accountable? And I hear so many people, I talk about how much I don't like Bill Clinton because of the whole Lewinsky thing, and they say, well, you're being too hard on him. It's just sex, you know, it's just people in power, whatever, celebrities. It's nothing unusual or bad about that. And it's not the act itself that bothered me. God knows if I was married to Hillary Clinton and I had other options. Of course, they're just marriage in name only anyway. She said so herself. But what really bothers me about it is the fact that he lied. He got on camera and lied about it. And that's the real problem. And it's hard to lie when you have photographic evidence of what you've done. And that is an outstanding picture, and that is going to be attached to his name for the rest of his life. People aren't going to remember him for Stuart Smalley, I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. People are going to remember him for that meme. Those memes are going to exist long after his political career, and long after anyone remembers his comedy. Because all that stuff is gone now. It's just the memes of the world, and congratulations, Mr. Franken. You have just immortalized yourself in a stupid little image that will carry on much longer than your name. And that's kind of sad, but that's the world we're living in now. And for the meme makers and other people out there, like, go ahead, post his grabby fingers reaching for other people and other things, because I don't think that's particularly offensive. If anything, that's justice for what he's done. And, you know, I'm a nobody. If someone has an embarrassing picture of me reaching for something, go ahead and spread it. Let people know who I am. But when you're already at the top like that, it sucks to be him, I guess. I imagine he's having a rough time right now, but he'll get through it with all his millions of dollars in pedantic supporters and his inability to take full credit for what happened by saying it was clearly meant to be funny. I don't think anyone was laughing. I think only you were laughing, and it wasn't a laughter of, oh, this is funny. It was a laughter of, oh, I finally got this girl. I got her back for rejecting my advances. Yeah, good job, Mr. Franken. As for me, I'm going to keep these hands to myself.